Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Steve with Sense of Fidelity. I'm coming at you May the 8th, 2026, in the year of our Lord, post-UFO days, 10:38 p.m. Welcome, good evening, good night, good morning, whenever, wherever you are. Thank you for joining in. I know this is like a last, I didn't have it scheduled out because today's just been all over the place today. My apologies. So I know Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch is in the house. Thank you, Mark. Hopefully, I know you guys, there'll be more coming into the thing as it goes. Most of you guys will end up being about 30 minutes tape delay because you're going to start at the beginning, keep going. Anyways, let's get right to it. Mother's Day is this weekend. We'll start off something kind. It'll get darker as we go. And remember, we're a Catholic. Can't blackpill anybody. You have hope. Torum nostrum and nomine Domini. You've got your channel in term. As bad as it gets, you can't be black. I know there's other channels. I've seen people say that guy black pills all the time. They're not talking about me. They're talking about other guys. Because they talk about how the church is, the crisis, everything is going bad. It's going to hell in a handbasket. There's always a crisis in the church. There's actually a book by, I just went stupid. Philip Hughes, Reverend Philip Hughes, literally called Crisis in the Church. It was about all the councils in the church. Actually, myself and Dr. Finister, when we did that, well, I just wanted one show. I just had this idea of one show. We ended up doing every council. That entire series was because of that book, Crisis in the Church. And I asked him about that. Hey, you want to do something on everyone talks about how we're always in the crisis. It's the emergency. It's all this stuff going on. He goes, love the idea. I teach that book in my classes. Hence why we did that long thing. If you listen to it, if it's a 2-hour show, an hour and 45 minutes of it is talking about how bad it is before that council. And then the 15 minutes is on the council. Every time we have, everywhere we're at, it's always bad. Everyone's going to say how bad it is. It's always bad. It's going to be bad until the end. When we're dead and gone and we're meat, the next group's going to come up. We got a crisis in the church. And then decades later, we got a crisis in the church. They're always going to say it. Depends on how you handle it. Okay. Anyways, don't think you got it. Just like everyone at every time thought they were in the last days. Well, this guy's the Antichrist. This guy's the Antichrist. This guy's the Antichrist. You see it now. Everyone goes, that guy's the Antichrist. That guy's the Antichrist. That guy's the Antichrist. The Spider-Man theme. That guy's the Antichrist. You're the Antichrist. Everyone does it. Thomas More did it to now. They all thought it was the last days in St. Vincent Ferrer's days. They all thought it was the last days, and you name it. We all think it's the last days now. We have no idea. Chill. Learn some joy. Cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. If you don't laugh, you cry. You have two choices. Become bitter, angry, jump out of the church because you come to Sunday contest and go like this. I hate you. I'm going to go my way. You're all wrong. I'm the right one. Good luck. The theme song of hell. I did it my way. Or you can just, you know what? God's in charge. I'm that guy. It's kind of like the beginning of not the beginning of Rudy. In the movie Rudy, the priest tells the Rudy at the time, I've learned a couple of things in my life. One, I'm not God. Just calm down. Well, here's a good idea. If you didn't have internet, would you know what happened in Rome? I don't know what happened in Rome today. So if anybody wants to tell me what happened in Rome today, let me know. And I'll tell me what I'm supposed to be mad about. If you're worried about getting your family to heaven, you're probably not looking at Rome going, Rome, I can't believe what you're doing. Get your family in it, work on you, get yourself good, get your wife good, get your kids good. You got plenty of time getting worried to get those guys in heaven. When you get to Judgment Day, I'm pretty sure Christ is not going to look at you going, well, your kids all went to hell. Your wife made to hell. But hey, I'm glad you tweeted about the Pope 48 times a day. That's not going to happen. It's going to be, hey, where's your wife? Where's your kids? Oh yeah, you made it here with a bad Pope. Fantastic. I'll take care of that guy when he gets here. Or I already took care of that guy. Guess what? He's going to get taken care of. You don't have to pretend to be Christ and judge the guy 50 times a day. Because if you're doing that, then you're not working on your own self. Anyways, Ghostbusters 1 reference. Oh, yeah, I got plenty of this. I wish I could play the videos. That would be even better. All the insanity is just the lead up to the next spanking. Yeah, if we're going to get spanked, enjoy it. Thank you, sir. Might have another. You worry about you. You worry about getting you holier. You become a saint, and the rest will work out. If it doesn't work out over Rome and something happens in Rome, guess where you're at? You're in the middle of somewhere, Connecticut. I don't know. Just picking a time, picking a place. Meteor hits the Vatican. I don't know. Whatever judgment comes down. Guess where you're at? You're not in the. You're at someplace in Connecticut. God will take care of you. just trust. Pray, hope, don't worry. Pray, hope, and tweet wasn't this thing. Anyway, let's get right to it. I know I'm getting off my soapbox. It's been a long day, but anyway, just if you stop worrying about everything that's going on and worry about your inside, worry about you might not jump off the ship. Please, we all get it. The inside the ship, the officer's cabin, there are a bunch of drunks hitting each other, losing their minds. There's a storm going out outside. Are you jumping off the ship because everyone in the office place is a bunch of idiots? No, you're staying on the ship. Those guys will figure it out. They're not going to crash into the waves. You're staying in the boat. Forget about it. Somebody, eventually you get there. I'm in. Look up church history. Look at all the craziness that happened, the pornocracy during the 11th, 12th century, the popes that died in their lovers' arms. Imagine that during 24/7 news coverage right now. Great googly moogly, they'd have a field day with that. The cadaver synod. Imagine that on CNN. Again, if you don't pay, just focus on prayer. Get your prayer life work. Read books that start with the letter S, as in saint. Read about repentance. Read about penance. Read about the history of the church. Read about the saints, lives of the saints. I mean, how many people know more about the Pope's sins than they know about what the Ten Commandments are? I guarantee there's more people that can recite 20 or 30, maybe 100 sins of the Pope in the last couple of days than knowing what the Ten Commandments are or the Beatitudes, or guarantee the Saint of the Day. Anyway, good evening from Commie, California. Yes, indeed, Commie, California. That is a great name for the Republic of California, which is on the flag. My man Bannig's out in Colorado. I spend much time working on my job, working on the farm. I don't have time for that garbage. If Rome does something severely wrong at the end, they will answer for it. Amen. Because if he's working on the farm, like he said, guess what? I've never gone out into the blueberries and go, man, I wonder what's going on in Rome today. No. I don't go to bed thinking that. I know people will text me up. I can't. Why aren't you worried about this? I don't know. And I can't do jack squat about it. I can laugh about it, like Dancing Queen, you and me, or the Ice Bless thing, things like that. Okay. Move on. Or just get mad, whatever you want. You want to just get mad? Be mad. And then be mad that other people aren't mad. And then you're mad about people not being mad, and you just makes you madder. It's all kind of madness. The history of Mother's Day. This has nothing to do with the opening topic of the conversation anyways. Yeah, buckle up, candlesticks. We're starting off slow. Starting slow. Don't worry. Aliens are coming. My Atari 2600 from when I was 9 years old has better graphics than the stuff they're buckled up putting out today. What else I got coming? There's you'll see. Oh yeah, I forgot about the idol that was down in Mar-a-Lago too. Yes, shiny object syndrome. Yes. It's funny. All the guys that were doing the Epstein binders, they're the same guys putting up the shiny object thing. Look at that! There's a dot in the sky. There's some cool good tweets out for that. Again, this could be a 40,000 link show because of all the clowny stuff, but we'll try to get it done before tomorrow shows up. Someone put real Mother's Day is the 4th of Lent, the Catholic edition. 4th of Lent. I guess I was trying to think what was the 4th of Lent, but because anyway, let's get right to it. Who invented Mother's Day? In 1887, you came in to listen to aliens. We'll get the Mother's Day first. Mary Towles Sassine, a mother of Henderson, Kentucky, led her class in what was first known observance of a Mother's Day, focusing just on honoring mothers. Later, Mary published a pamphlet of her vision for a special day to share with others. She traveled across the amber waves of fuel to educational gatherings to promote the observance of a national holiday, primarily in public schools, which with the designated suggested date of April 20th, her mother's birthday. Schools in several states, including Springfield, Ohio, adopted the idea. Mary died in 1906 before her dream of a national holiday was realized. In 1926, the Kentucky legislature passed the resolution acclaiming Mary as the originator of the idea of the celebration of Mother's Day. Look, a state did that. SCOTUS didn't do that? No, it was a state. However, the creation of the National Mother's Day is primarily attributed to three women: Anne Reeves Jarvis, Julia Ward Howe, who wrote the horrible Battle Hymn of the Republic, the anti-Catholic and anti-Southern song, by the way, and Anne's daughter, Anna M. Jarvis. Miss Jarvis, known as Mother Jarvis, Anne Reeves Jarvis was a young Appalachian homemaker who taught Sunday school lessons. She was also a lifelong activist who, until the mid-1800s, organized Mother's Day work clubs in West by God, Virginia, to combat unsanitary living conditions. Reeves Jarvis was concerned about the high infant mortality rate, especially pervasive in Appalachia, and wanted to educate and help mothers who needed it most. During the War for Southern Independence, Mother Jarvis had also organized women's brigades, encouraging women to help without regard to which side their men had chosen. After the war, she proposed a Mother's Friendship Day to promote peace between former Union and Confederate families, which that happened. Afterwards, everyone came over and shook hands with each other. They didn't like it, but yeah, they did shake hands with each other. Only when I think music came. She only wrote the lyrics, though. Yeah, you're right. She did. Yeah, she also said the glory of the coming of the Lord was Sherman burning down all the South. So let's see, Julia Ward Howe, the famous poet and reformer during the War for Southern Independence. She volunteered for the U.S. Sanitary Commission, helping them provide hygienic environments for hospitals and to ensure sanitary conditions during the care of the sick and wounded soldiers. In 1861, she authored the famous anthem, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, which you'll never hear me say those horrific words ever sing them ever in my life, which was first published in February 1862. Julia called for in 1870 the Mother's Day for Peace, dedicated to celebration of peace and eradication of war. Blah, 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 blah. Nothing happened until 1907 when Mrs. Anna M. Jarvis of Philadelphia took up the banner. And there's Anna M. Jarvis, blah, blah, blah. Let's go. Why Mother's Day in the U.S. is in May. In May of 1907, Anna memorialized her mother's lifelong activism with the memorial service held at the Methodist Church in Grafton, West by God, Virginia, where Anna's mother had taught. The following year, on May 10th, a Mother's Day service was held at the same church to acknowledge all mothers. Thus was born the idea that the second Sunday in May will be set aside to honor every mother, whether living or deceased. Her efforts came to the attention of the mayor of Philadelphia, who proclaimed a local Mother's Day. From the local level, she went on to Washington District of Criminals, and the politicians there knew a good thing when they saw it and were quick to lend verbal support. While West by God, Virginia was the first state to officially adopt the holiday, others followed suit. Proclamation of the day in various states led Representative J. Thomas Heflin of Alabama and Senator Morris Shepherd of Texas to present a joint resolution to Congress that Mother's Day be observed nationwide. The resolution was passed by both houses. In 1914, President Woodrow Commie Wilson, my mouth just spells out things, signed a deal designating the second Sunday in May as a legal holiday to be called Mother's Day, dedicated to the best mother in the world, your mother. In the first few years, the day was observed as a legal holiday, but in absolute simplicity and reverence, church services were held in honor of all mothers, living and dead. According to many sources, Anna simply wanted to honor her mother, claiming that her mother was the originator of the real Mother's Day. As the holiday went mainstream, she was dismayed to see it become more commercialized, with the sending of greeting cards and flowers, and many sales all over the place. She also didn't even want a holiday promoted by women's organizations, charitable foundations, or public health reformers to raise money, somewhat ironic, considering her mother's public health mission. In 1948, Anna Jarvis died in a sanitarium in the state of dementia. Sanitarium. Mother's Day and that endures and evolves just as Mother Day is with the creation of multiple women. The modern Mother's Day celebrates the very roles of mothers today. We commemorate the many ways mothers have fought. The blah 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 blah. Anyway, sorry, I was just going to CCG7. G7. What's the G7? We all voted for Trump. Now we have regrets. No, speak for yourselves. As people have commented on my Twitter all the time, look at that guy. He voted for the meteor, giant meteor. Yeah, and I just respond back, well, the meteor doesn't bomb people or steal your money, so I win. Santa, yeah, you guys are gonna be in for a treat. I'm just loading up on some energy drinks right now. Sanitarium, make me. Please know that everyone knows the Metallica song, right?
And we're declaring
Here's Bubbles.
The American Revolution was against the billionaires of their time. And we're declaring independence from such an extreme marriage of wealth and power and the state.
I mean, as McClanahan said, John Hancock was literally one of the top 1 or 2 wealthiest men in America. And they wasn't like wealthy, like, $5 or $10 in their names. He was loaded. I mean, Charles Carrollton, he was the same way. He was loaded. The American Revolution was against billionaires at their time. Okay, yeah. Apparently, when you think she can't say anything dumber, don't worry, she'll outdo herself. Hold my beer. Sorry for getting off topic. Don't worry. We can all say we have ADD. We'll go anywhere y'all want. You put in something good and that's a attention grabber, I will go with it. Don't worry. Try to outdo yourselves out there.
I want to make sure everyone.
First 1,500 that go into the stadium today gets a bobblehead doll of Donald J. Trump in gold.
In here? Okay, sir.
Hello, everybody. I want to thank you so much for being there today, and more importantly, for what you did. The statue is beautiful. I saw it during the weekend. We had a big PGA tournament with a great champion, and all great champions, actually, but it was a great tournament, and I got to look at it very closely, and it's incredible. And I just want to thank you. I know it was done from love, and I want to thank Mark Burns, a pastor. He's a good pastor. He's a good man. I've known him a long time. He's been with me from the beginning, right from the beginning. Maybe about 2 days later, right? 2 days.
But right, Mr. President.
he was right at the beginning, and I appreciate it, Mark. You're great. And just really a good person. And I want to thank everybody there. I don't know, here there's a good crowd of people, but I want to thank you all, and I won't forget it. And we love you all, and the country's doing great. And Iran is not doing good because of us. They are not doing well at all, and good things are happening. And I just want to really give you my love. And I wish I could be there where we want to make sure everything's going perfect on the war front. I figure you could understand that. But we'll see you all around. I just want to, again, everybody is taking pictures of it. My people told me that it's unbelievable. All day long they're taking pictures. They stand up next to it and they have their picture taken. It really came out beautiful. I didn't know what to expect. I just want to thank you all, and we love you all, and God bless America.
God bless you, sir. God bless you. We love you. God bless you, Mr. President. Love you, sir. Talk to you.
We love you. I couldn't tell if I'm trying to find out if that was Mark Robinson. That was at the bottom.
I want to make sure everyone's in here. Okay, sir.
A sellout if you did, because there's photos of him that's on the thumbnail. I'm not 100% sure who that is. Old Trump statue.
And I want to thank Mark Burns, a pastor. He's a good pastor. He's a good man. I've known him a long time. He's been with me from the beginning, right from the beginning. Maybe about 2 days later, right? 2 days.
Right, Mr. President.
This is at the golf course in Doral, Florida. presided over by an evangelical pastor. Oh, that's the fight photo op. Yeah. Everyone pledging allegiance to the rag. Socialist pledge, by the way. Photo ops. Do some prayers to each other. Yeah. There's religious leaders. Look, you can tell what kind of religion they are right there. Don Colossus recently installed golden statue of Donald J. Trump at Trump National Doral, Miami. 15-foot tall bronze sculpture covered in gold leaf, making a total height around 20 to 22 feet. With its pedestal, it depicts Trump in a suit with his right hand in the air, the iconic pose he struck in the July photo op in Butler, Pennsylvania. Total cost was around $450,000, commissioned by the S-Patriot crypto meme coin group shortly after the 2024 assassination attempt. He explicitly said it was not a golden calf and emphasized resilience, patriotism, and strength. Yeah, sure. While he's doing all that, everyone else, chip in for the $6 gas. Here's Glenn Greenwald retweeting once the future king president DJT back in 2015. Sheldon Adelson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio because he feels he can mold him into a perfect little puppet. I agree. Glenn, such a perfect tweet on so many levels. If you don't know Sheldon, he died. And by the way, Sheldon gave Trump a lot of money too. He runs a bunch of casinos. Miriam is Sheldon's wife. Miriam is pretty much giving Trump almost probably a couple billion now. And she's molded him into her little perfect puppet. And Owen Schroyer says all this to stop a nuke that didn't exist and open a strait that wasn't. Oh, shoot. I didn't hit the thing. Did I? Oh, yeah. Here's the tweet that I had on here. Sorry, I forgot that. Sheldon Adelson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio so he can feel like the perfect puppet. And Glenn Greenwald, such a perfect tweet. And that's why I was like that. Sheldon is Miriam's. Sheldon was married Miriam. Sheldon's now dead. Miriam's now given caboodles amount of money to DJT. Here's Schroyer. All this to stop a nuke that didn't exist and open a strait that wasn't closed. Yay! But hey, yeah, as long as we got a statue going down there, I love it. He loves him some him. There's Trump again back in 2012. Arrived in Palm Beach, drove by a gas station, $4.50 a gallon. Result of failed Barack Hussein Obama leadership. Larry said, I paid $4.50 a gallon today, just saying. I know down the street from me it was 404. I remember joking about 404 is when, nothing works for a website anymore. And I don't know what it was right across in North Carolina, but it definitely is. It'll be at least 420 there. All I have is my 2 cents. When are we going to launch the Space Crusades? Statue of Steve would be nice. Yeah, it'd be a crackerjack by state. Mark, no brown nosing allowed here, Brad. No, Mark, I will cut you off. Let's see.
A gallon for gas because you're out there busting your chops paying over $4 a gallon for gas because someone might build nuclear weapons. Fear. Bad guy. Boogeyman. Kill the boogeyman. Kill that boogeyman. Kill this boogeyman. We're number one. We're free. Fight for freedom. Hey, they're deprived. Hey, they're held down. Hey, we need to fight over there. We need more bases there. Hey, blah, blah, blah. We're going to the moon. Quack, quack, quack.
We're going to the moon. This I had to post in. There was was it Southern Living magazine. If you don't have Southern Living, you should. Anything Southern, you should have. And this lady who I think she's quadriplegic, bought a house, not a house, mansion, pretty much. And so she has money. But again, quadriplegic, but restored a couple home It's from this site called Abandoned Florida, abandonedfl.com. And so we looked it up today. My wife goes, I'll look up the site because I'm interested in because she took this place and just beautified it. So she told me, my wife, hey, I'm putting this together a couple hours ago. She goes, you got to see this. You either get ticked or cry about this. One of the two. St. Anne's Shrine in Florida, Lake Wiles, Florida, built around 1920, abandoned in the 1960s. St. Anne's Shrine, located about 6 miles east of Lake Wiles, in the shadow of its former self. Its weathered stone grotto and tilled altar are among a few ancient remnants of its revered past. The story of St. Anne's Shrine begins in 1920 when a group of Catholics from Canada, ventured down to Florida to escape the harsh winters of their homeland. Recalling Canada's devotion to St. Anne de Beaupré, which they built a shrine to St. Anne, Mother of the Virgin Mary, and Grandmother of Jesus Christ. Under the leadership and generosity of Canadian native and winter resident Neapolitan Pelletier, the shrine of St. Anne de Lacs, or St. Anne of the Lakes, began to take form. In Canada, St. Anne is known as the patron saint of sailors. The shrine consisted of a small white chapel with a pedestal out front bearing the statue of Jesus Christ, a towering grotto mirroring the site where the Virgin Mary appeared at Lourdes, France, to elaborate set of statuaries that made up the Stations of the Cross and spread through the surrounding woods. On a set of trails and a monument of Saint Therese of Abbeville emerging near the southern shore of St. Anne Lake. The 40-foot high replica of Grotto of Lourdes was constructed of native Florida stone and reached by a stone bridge crossing a moat surrounding the grotto. The structure was arranged so outdoor service could be held in front of the altar in a palm fringe setting, quite in contrast to the original cave. Here's a postcard of what it looked like, what the chapel looked like. Pretty beautiful, huh? Around 1926, a French artiste, Francis Masselet, whatever, I'm just stop it, Steve, traveled to the shrine with his young son, who's terminally ill and dying of tuberculosis. He promised to dedicate his life and talent to beatifying the shrine if his son could be saved. They swam and camped there, and the boy was miraculously cured, attributed to the healing waters. Kind of like in St. Anne's in Canada, where all these miraculous healings have been done. He painted dramatic murals throughout the chapel and chiseled elaborate sculptures for the church and grounds. At its peak, the St. Anne's Shrine included a replica of the miraculous statue of St. Anne de Beaupré, a monument dedicated. I guess that'd be the same St. Anne that's in Canada at the basilica there. A monument dedicated to Christ Olympius that housed the relic of the thorn of the crown of Christ. It also featured a repository containing the relic of the true cross, a reproduction of the sacred nail, a replica of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem, a grotto of All Lady of Lourdes, and a biblical museum. In July 1930, a Catholic bishop traveled to Lake Wales to bless the ornate repository of the true cross, which he put. Here's a kind of an idea of what it looked like inside. That is tremendous, huh? See if anybody's looking. Speaking of Lourdes, I saw a video on YouTube about the Catholic priest that was cured of cancer after visiting. Yes, it is. I forget the guy's name. I forget the priest's name, but yes, brain tumor, I think it was. The first pilgrimage from Canada occurred in 1928. People came by the thousands to celebrate the anniversary of the Virgin Mary's apparition of Lourdes each February, and St. Anne's each feast day each July. One time, international attention and support led to the establishment of a lakeside monument dedicated to St. Christopher and a fountain honoring St. Therese of Lisieux. As reports of healings associated with the lake's water spread, the number of pilgrims increased significantly. Napoleon maintained the shrine until he died in 1942. The stone mark at the edge of the grotto marks his grave, although his body was removed in 1970 and returned to his native Canada. Here's the image of the grotto there at the lake. You see the altar there, gigantic, Decline and desanctification. As World War II unfolded, the Canadian pilgrims remained in their snow-covered homes throughout the long winters, and interest in the shrine began to decline. Residents of the small St. Anne community also expressed concern that the shrine was becoming overly commercialized, leading to further reduction in visitors. By the early 1960s, the Catholic Diocese of Orlando considered the shrine obsolete, leading church leaders to desanctify the church and subsequently tear it down. Only the front steps remain, leading nowhere. Over time, the shrine began to fade from memory. The diocese still owns the property and has largely lost interest in it. According to officials, some statues that once adorned the church have been found a new home in Holy Spirit Catholic Church in Lake Wiles, while others have been lost. When a priest from Holy Spirit Church attempted to sell the site in the early 1980s to make way for a house, local neighbors opposed the plan and successfully halted the sale, preserving the remains of their cherished shrine. To this day, the shrine remains open daily from sunset to sundown. You see any other write-ups? I'll go through some of the images here. Here's St. Anne's Shrine. So that's what's left. I guess that's the stairs, maybe. There's the bridge. That's where the St. Christopher Shrine would have been. Here's Napoleon's grave. They didn't really do too much with that. There's the grotto. That's the leftover part of the grotto. Our Lady Lord's grotto. So at least they kept that up at least decently. Also, they got rid of the high altar for the table. Made sure we did that, huh? There's the Little Flower Shrine. Yeah, there it is at the beginning. Very sad. Yep. Very, very sad. Lost so much. Yeah, what a Doomsday. What a shame. Incredible. What a shame. Yes, Lou, Father John Hollowell. That's exactly it. I gotta send it to my bud at someone's that I'm trying to get him to. Well, he's got Florida. He's got a brain tumor, so maybe I'll try to send that to him. He's Lutheran. We're trying to work on him. If that's Florida, how on earth did that gold statue get put up in the same state? Yeah. Yeah. See, this is why we can't have nice things. Huh? Exactly. Yeah. Here's if you guys want to read up on it, it's in the show notes underneath. I get the link underneath. It has all this in here, but I'll put this in the chat too if you want to look at it yourselves and do anything with it.
Started 47 years.
I keep hearing that the Iran war started
47 years ago. Started 47 years ago.
Iran kind of started it 47 years ago.
when the regime rose to power and some Americans were held hostage. To which many have replied that the conflict actually started in 1953, when the CIA and their British counterpart helped instigate a coup against Iran's democratically elected prime minister in order to maintain access to the country's oil. That's true, but it misses a much broader understanding of just how aggressively the US government has been attempting to control the Middle East. Imagine if the Iranian government behaved like the US government has. In 1949, the CIA backed a coup to overthrow the Syrian government, which dared to buck the US on Israel policy and an oil pipeline that benefited the West. They knew the new ruler they backed would be a military dictator, and they did it anyway. When the CIA's choice was ousted that same year, the agency intervened again to help install another military dictator. Meanwhile, in Northern Africa, the CIA supported a 1952 military coup against the King of Egypt, helping switch out one authoritarian government for another and later plotting against the same general they helped rise to power. The US government later supported another military dictator dictatorship there for decades. The following year was when the CIA and MI6 notoriously teamed up to re-empower the autocratic dynastic system that had handed over Iranian oil rights, and the CIA even helped this regime set up their repressive secret police. This meddling directly led to the 1979 revolution and the regime the US government now claims a moral authority to fight. The CIA supported the pro-Western Iraqi monarchy until it was toppled in the 1950s. Then, in 1963, the agency, emboldened by the UK and Israel, helped take down the subsequent Iraqi government in a bloody coup that killed doctors, lawyers, teachers, and others, and facilitated none other than Saddam Hussein's rise to power. The US government went on to aid him later in the Iran-Iraq war, only to come back and vilify him as a pretext to invade Iraq and seize oil resources. That's just a small sampling of the US government's interventionist policies in the Middle East well before the current authoritarian Iranian regime rose to power. Empires like Britain and France had long been worming their way into the region, including Britain setting the stage for the creation of Israel and siphoning off oil from Iran and other countries. The US got in on that too long before becoming the dominant foreign power in the Middle East. By the 1950s, the US government was filling the power vacuum left by the decline of other Western empires, claiming to be fighting the evils of communism while sowing other flavors of evil to serve their own agenda and interests. And look how that turned out. It's not that the US and other Western empires are the sole cause of all the problems in the Middle East, or that they're the only ones to have dominated the region. But their meddling certainly has not helped stabilize or liberate it, despite all the grandiose lies about concern for the people there. And don't forget that at the same time the CIA and the US government at large were intervening in the Middle East in the middle of last century, they were doing the same around the rest of the world, from Indonesia to Guatemala to the Congo, Laos, and many more. Imagine if the Iranian government had behaved like this in the US and neighboring countries, treating the people and their sovereignty like pawns on a megalomaniacal chessboard, and then sweeping all that under the rug and claiming the US started the conflict when all the blowback came home to roost.
47 years.
Started 47 years ago.
47 long years.
That was a lie.
They lie to you all. Let's see, I think it's 2 weeks from now. I've seen that quite a few times. It's still funny every time I see it. Let's bring up my friend Mike Church. He did a show. I forgot to listen to the rest of it. He brings up today was I heard the first part of it. It was great. I told him, so we got to do something on this because we got to get more people. We got to get more people talking about federalism, state rights, states under control, all that stuff. Why? Because we'll get to it in a minute. There was a certain representative in Tennessee that said, "Let my people go. We want to secede from Tennessee. Glory, hallelujah." Yes. Anyways, I'll show you to hear it a little bit. So Mike was doing it. Here it is right here. He's got the video of that right there. He goes, "The glorious prospect of Memphis seceding." So,
my people go. And I'm dead ass serious.
Let my people go. And I'm dead ass.
So I know again, that's why I'm bringing up the next tab is Mises Institute yesterday or 2 days ago. Vote harder. Why secession is the only answer to the American magistrate. Yes. If you haven't figured that out yet, I don't know what else to do. They would start with that. That's fine. No, the thing I'll bring it up again when we bring it up. Tennessee is too big. So how many people are in the state of Tennessee? Let me look it up real quick. Population, Tennessee. Population of Tennessee is roughly 7.22 million people according to 2024 census. Okay, that's too big to govern right off the bat. Let's say population of Nashville. Population of Nashville, Tennessee is approximately 700,000 people. Also, too big to govern. Okay. Population of Memphis. When I was driving in Memphis. Population of Memphis, Tennessee is 633,000 people. Again, too big for the mayor of Memphis. Let's see, population of small countries. I have this in Idol of a Nation, this part right here. Small sovereign nations also include Morocco, 38,000 people. San Marino, 33,000 people. So there are countries that have small people. Vatican City is apparently, a country, a small country in the world. It says 500 to 700 people live there. But yeah, Morocco is 38,000 people. That's a country. That's a governable. 700,000 is not governable. So even Memphis needs to be broken up. Again, this goes back to if you ever read Bill Kaufman's book, Bye Bye Miss American Empire, you'll see what he's talking about in that. And New York should be broken up. New York City should be broken up. You should have, instead of 5 boroughs, 5 states right there, because it's too big. 8 million people. You can't run that with one person. The mayor can't run that. So you have 7 million people in a state. Too big. One person to govern that. If one person can't govern 7 million people, you think one person can govern 320 million? Again, too big. So states need to be broken up. Memphis is too big on its own to break up. And if Memphis is 5, 10 times, 100 times bigger than other countries smaller, they wouldn't, don't worry, they wouldn't starve. I mean, they could, but who cares that? That's up to them. Memphis could have the state of Memphis, state of Nashville, the state of Knoxville, whatever. Let them go how they is. If you don't want to live in, say, like the Republic of Memphis, if it happens, you move out of Memphis. If you don't like how it is somewhere else, you move out of there. You change it up or move. But to force them, hey, it's kind of like the idea, no, you can't leave. You are forced to stay. Who cares if it breaks up? We should break up. Marty says, I'm afraid as soon as they break up, they will go to war with each other. Okay, and Jed Smith brings us up in his book, Myths and Monarchy. If say like an area was getting uppity, guess what would happen? Other areas around him would get together and go, hey, let's smack these guys down. They would go to that area, smack them around. They wouldn't get uppity anymore. You know what does happen? We have these gigantic, consolidated, centralized governments get uppity. Who's to smack them down? They go to war with their World War I and World War II does not happen unless you have consolidated, centralized governments. That's the only way for that thing that even to happen. You have to have the major big states, every unification of Italy, unification of France, unification of Germany. That's the reason why everything went downhill, was the unification of Germany. And then it's just, all this stuff, the unifications, all these German unifications, all these American unification, all that stuff, that grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And you get, who's going to stop them? You can't. That's what you have, these major wars because of that. It's the opposite thinking. If you have small, think of Morocco, right? Morocco breaks. Who's Morocco going to war with? Nobody. Who's messing with Morocco? Hong Kong. And okay. China wants to. That's tyrannical. Now we're going to extreme on things like, what if China wants to go tyrannical and go after Hong Kong? People might actually defend Hong Kong. Again, Singapore, things like that. There are major nations that are small, very profitable. They work. They have more liberty than here. There are some of the Trump supporters out there who continue to build a Trump administration some kind of great victory for the forces of populism against the deep state. A year into the second Trump administration, it is clear this is not a serious position. The populism of the Trump campaign has nearly failed, and what we ended up with instead is a continuation and strengthening of the status quo. Over the next 3 years of the second Trump term, the welfare warfare state will only get larger. Trump has now actively pushes to strengthen the surveillance state and massively increase overall defense spending. He points to some minuscule trimming around the edges of the welfare state, while overall spending continues to rise and federal deficits are near all-time highs. In turn, these huge deficits will require central bank intervention and partly monetize the debt, pushing the price of inflation. Yep. Far from being some sort of shock to the system in Washington, Trump is governing largely like a business-as-usual Republican. In other words, it should be abundantly obvious by now that there is not going to be anything coming out of this administration that will endanger the governing elites or their institutions, which retain a firm grip on Washington institutions and the special interests that drive policy. This is apparently the best that the militant populists could come up with. Yet another milquetoast Republican administration that will ensure the gravy train continues for politically favored allies. This administration is basically a Marco Rubio administration with some mean tweets thrown in for color. The populist victory of the Trump administration, perhaps the best evidence yet of a strategy of vote harder, is simply not going to lead to any significant change of any kind. After all, the media, academia, and even the GOP's old guard fought tooth and nail to keep Trump out of the White House. And in the end, it was much ado about nothing. Now, just imagine if someone ran for the presidency who actually opposed the regime's power on principle. That person would simply not be allowed to get the nomination, let alone win. So there won't be any viable candidates who will actually tear down the federal state through legal or constitutional means. That will not be permitted via any federal election. The logic of the welfare state, moreover, ensures that no candidate can hope to get elected while also favoring significant cuts to defense spending, old age pensions, or any of the beloved federal programs that support millions of our Americans on the dole, such as pensioners and government contractors. The only way significant change comes to this tightly constructed system of patrons and clients will be via a significant crisis that disrupts standards of living. This must be severe enough that it shakes the population's faith in the regime to the point that people actually begin to question the state's legitimacy. Only when real economic pain is felt, which probably will be coming, will there be any change. So long as the most of the population feels comfortable enough with an ample supply of DoorDash and pornography and reality TV, the system will be deemed to be working well enough. Eventually, however, the ruling class, through either miscalculation or laziness or complacency, will no longer be able to deliver on its promises or guarantee ease, safety, and free goods and services for a growing population on the dole. Once the elites become unable to buy compliance from the population, the regime will turn to brute force. This, however, can only last as long as the ruling elites are able to draw upon loyal personnel in large enough numbers to be able to force obedience from the general population. This is easier said than done, especially in the period of economic stagnation or decline. The Soviet Union is a key example. In 1989, when the Soviet government was crumbling, the Soviet regime still commanded 6 million personnel in military uniform. But when the regime tried to shore up control, the enormous military proved to be largely AWOL and a little use. But then what? Once the ruling elite and his regime ceased to be seen as legitimate, once the usual methods of control fail, what's the next step? Unfortunately, the next step is usually to simply replace the outgoing group of governing elites with a new group. This is the usual progression of events. Uprisings turn into civil wars, and civil wars turn into contests over who will control the state's enormous apparatus of coercion. The French Revolution is perhaps the quintessential cautionary tale here. The revolutionaries won with lavish promises of freedom and rule by the people. Yet, there was no such thing as rule by the people, and there never has been. Any polity that is more complex than the tribal village ultimately ends up with the civil government in the hands of a relatively small elite. Whether from the left or the right, the type of centralist revolutions will provide no escape from the endless cycle of replacing one set of elites with another, and with characterizations much of human history, which is, Pareto writes, a graveyard of aristocracies. Again and again, we find that the liberators are doing little more than replacing the people's current yoke with a slightly different one. Consequently, the only hope in providing any true limiting factors on the state power will be the dismemberment of the state into smaller and weaker pieces. Hence, the Articles of Confederation was what? A weak, centralized government. That's why the centralists wanted to get the Constitution going in, so they had a stronger centralized. It will be necessary to check power with power through true decentralization. This is why the Soviet state never reemerged under the new name with similar prerogatives. Thanks largely to a centrifugal forces of latent nationalism within the various republics of the Soviet Union, the new Russian elite that replaced the old Soviet elite was unable to maintain the union. The result has been greatly beneficial to many of the former Soviet republics. By the way, remember all those secession movements in Russia, Soviet Union, were all peaceful. especially the Baltic states and the United States helped out with a bunch of them, and to the old states of the Warsaw Pact, which were informally under the boot of the Soviet regime. In other words, the dismemberment of the Soviet state through a variety of de jure and de facto secession movements accomplished what would not have been through simply placing a new elite atop the Soviet state. Similarly, the American Revolution, which was primarily a movement to secede from the British state, created a highly decentralized new state which possessed few of the powers of the old regime. Actually, new states, because the Declaration talks about 13 independent states, not one state. We can conclude that any American who actually values human freedom and its necessary antecedent, the weakening of the central state, will desire a similar dismemberment of these United States. After all, as the French Revolution showed us, it is not enough to simply transfer the regime from the hands of one elite to another. Rather, radical decentralization via secession and other means will have to take place in order to create new power centers and new elites that can push back against the established elites and power centers of the rump state. Only when power is allowed to check power will there be any meaningful institutional limits on state power. So yeah, again, decentralization is the answer. Steve, here's the link to the article about how Iran loved the U.S. and our missionaries. Cool. Thanks, Neil and Catholic. Appreciate that. I don't. The link never came through, so if you want to try it again or email me, Steve at censusfidelium.com, that'd be good. Let's see. I didn't see everyone else's comments in here. Ain't nobody walking to Memphis much these days, and don't go to the Beale State. Yeah, I didn't say Memphis is a cool place to hang out on the corner at 11 o'clock at night. No, that's not saying that at all. But hey, they should have the freedom to do that. That's the thing. And whatever government they want to be communistic, let them. They want to be socialist, let them. They want to be free market, let them. They want to be oligarchical, let them. They want to be monarchy, let them. I don't live in Memphis. They can do whatever the darn they want. If I wanted to move to Memphis, I would say, you know what? I like what they're doing in Memphis. I'm moving there. Maybe if I'm in Memphis and they go do something else, I'll go, you know what? I don't like what Memphis is doing. I'm moving out. You know, we should have, that's why you have 50 experimental states right now. There's Matthew 27 verse 6 doesn't say the United States of America can only have 50 states. No, it could have 190. It doesn't say South Carolina only has to be one blob like that. It could be 15 different versions. And we don't think like this. I know. Let's get to the virus. Authorities scramble to limit Hantavirus outbreak, trace contacts around the globe. U.S. officials in at least 5 states, Arizona, California, Georgia, Texas, and Virginia, are monitoring symptoms of 7 returning passengers. Oh boy, here we go again. Wall Street Journal, where we are right here. Inside the global effort to figure out where Hantavirus will strike next, health authorities, airlines, and operator of the MV Hondu's cruise ship are mobilizing to contain the spread of a pathogen that has killed 3. Nice try, Deep State. Yes. Well, Jeffrey, this goes in what I was just saying. You can't do it according to the Constitution. You can't do that because our number of the First Amendment. But that's because people think the First Amendment goes from here to the Ashwater Hoth around the aliens and come back. It just means the federal government can't do that. Any state can. In 1861, the state of Georgia, the Peach State, where Atlanta is, declared itself a Christian nation. Quote, a Christian nation. So you can do that in your state today, tomorrow, next week, whenever. All we have to do is get people to do it. Again, you don't want to think of the U.S. as the United States as the United State. It's the United States. The federal government, you don't want to give all that power to them. Say you want to make it a theocracy. Great. Which one? They're going to have it. Then you get a carpet blanket over there. Thou shalt be Protestant or whatever. You don't want to do that. Because then you go to the feds, then they go put blanket all the way across, and then they say a Muslim gets in. All right, now we're making a Muslim thing, whatever. You're just saying that. What are you going to do then? Now, say Say like Michigan becomes a Muslim state, hypothetically, just saying. What can you do? All right, I got a U-Haul. I'm out of Michigan. You can convert it, stay and work on them to convert it, crusade, whatever you want, or leave. You know what? I'm going to Illinois. I'm going down to Georgia, whatever, because they ain't happening down the South. Say Michigan becomes that. Now, you do that with across the board. What are you going to do? Move to Poland? Go to Canada? Go to Mexico? Go to Belize? Again, you can't do that. The federal entity doesn't have all these powers that everyone thinks they are. It's insane what we think that we can do. It only has 18 enumerated powers. That's it. And they also said the Bill of Rights shouldn't even exist during the founding, because then that makes sure, then they can do all this. Because guess what? All your states have their own Bill of Rights. All your states have a constitution. All your states have their own government, Supreme Court. How many people just found out that Virginia has a Supreme Court? Yes, every state has a Supreme Court. Louisiana has a Supreme Court. South Carolina has a Supreme Court. North Carolina has a Supreme Court. Oregon has a Supreme Court. The SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, has zero authority over any of the state courts. Did you know that? You might say, the supremacy. Nope. Supremacy is only about the U.S. Supreme Court has supremacy over other federal courts. State courts has nothing to say over that. Again, we don't want to think, we don't think, because we're taught wrong. It's not that we're idiots or anything. We're taught to believe in a centralized authority. That's because of I'm just saying it because of the federal issue. Now, again, it's kind of like Roe v. Wade type deal. When I tell you can kill abortion at the state level. Fishback wants to get rid of all the abortion clinics in Florida. South Carolina is talking about getting rid of all abortion and imprisoning abortionists. You don't hear Pro-Life Inc. talk about it. All Pro-Life Inc. wants, we need to ban it at the federal level. Okay, you do that. You bring it back to the federal level. Guess what happens? Say Gruesome Newsom becomes El Dictator again, just becomes the president. Where do they put Roe 2.0 in? What's your plan then? They don't have a plan on that. They don't think like that, because that could happen. If you get it in it, you don't want to play Russian roulette with the Fed. Work on it at the state level. States have more power. I can't remember who was one of the founders said, states' power is unlimited and not defined. Federal power is defined and limited. Who doesn't know this? About the virus? I don't know. Many people probably don't. Speaking of schooling and education, Our Lady of Victory School, traditional Catholic homeschool at olvs.org. If you're looking at homeschooling, go check out olvs.com. And speaking of which, let me go ahead and give a good old Dr. Harrelson a good shout out. Dr. Harrelson, American History from a Southern Conservative Perspective. He's got a couple courses out already, just 2, I think. Foundations of America, History, Culture, and Constitution, and the 20th Century Critics of Modern World. But there's 47 and 67. I know guys that do $200, $300 courses. So give it a shot at alanharrelson.com. I told him I was going to do it. He said he doesn't have anybody that doesn't think about, I don't have the site. I'm sorry. drharrelson.com, alanharrelson.com, and there's his courses right here. Check it out. And what I had originally was olvs.org. So homeschooling, and I guess Alan would be considered a homeschooling. You want some history? There's some history. He's going to put out more too. Because I'm going to keep on him to say, do more, do this.
We have a question from one of our viewers. They ask, it's said that it can take 8 weeks to become symptomatic. The passengers shouldn't be allowed into the public until they're completely cleared.
Speaking of that, we're an hour into the show and we only know about an eighth of the links.
What do you, is that a fair way to look at this? I mean, how long do you think people should be quarantined who are either on that ship or in contact with someone who was there?
Yeah, I mean, this is the big challenge with this virus, the long incubation period. And now we have people scattered really around the globe that are being properly tracked, isolated, quarantined, and get it under control. But what they did was they quarantined and isolated people for 40 days because of the long incubation period. So unfortunately, this is a key factor in us trying to figure out, how do we keep people safe? How do we prevent further spread? I mean, what we're all tracking right now is that potential secondary spread. And then how do we minimize those who are infected from infecting others?
And what a quarantine might really mean in context of the long.
Well, since we're talking about we needing to mask up again, I might as well put the mask back on. I would put all of them on, but then I couldn't see the screen. Hantavirus update. Spanish health authorities. Man, it sucks. I'm sorry. Can't talk with that. It fogs up the glasses and then it just gets hot. Hantavirus update. I don't know how doctors do it. They actually, I think Dr. Sam Bailey goes through it. That doctors don't even need to even wear that as a mask. That people, when they do surgeries, that it's actually an utter waste of time. Hantavirus update. Spanish health authorities on a high alert as the cruise ship carrying the suspected hantavirus. I gotta have at least some kind of prop on for this. We'll do this. I got yelled at in the hospital for wearing like that. That works. A fun time. I'm that kind of guy. Yes. The World Health Organization has confirmed 3 fatalities, while around 150 passengers, including 17 Americans, remain on board. RT, 100 people fall ill of norovirus. Now, hantavirus already, to yesterday's news, norovirus outbreak aboard the Caribbean Princess cruise. Man, they're going to throw out 16,000 viruses at us on this. I remember being in nearly a 3-week quarantine when I was at Fort Irwin. Open boy, tasteless defect food, bad top. Yeah. I don't know how you would have done it, Doomslayer. I think I would have slayed on that one. I was not a good person around a lot of people during this. Let's see. Daily Fail, New Jersey. Now 6th state with suspected hantavirus cases after residents were exposed to patient on the plane. Okay. Man. Here's the WHO.
To the ship's operator on the management of health on board the vessel. All passengers have been asked to stay in their cabins. The cabins are being disinfected, and anyone who shows symptoms will be isolated immediately. A WHO expert boarded the ship in Cabo Verde and has been joined by 2 doctors from the Netherlands and an expert from the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control, who will stay on the ship until it reaches the...
All right, I'm done with them. 12 other countries have been contacted by the WHO as they receive passengers from MV Hondos who disembarked at earlier stages of the cruise. Ship is now sailing to the Canary Islands with WHO expert and 2 doctors. Oh, yeah, there we go. 2 an expert. Upon arrival, passengers will fly to their respective countries. To who's buying this? There's a bunch of people buying this. Thankfully, there's a lot of people not buying it too. That did it in 100,000, like Roger Daltrey. Get the Lysol ready. Yeah, Lou. Here's Rick Sanchez. The hantavirus is just a distraction, not even a good one. It does not spread human to human. It is linked to exposure to infected rodents and their waste. So think of rat poo. If you throw rat poo at each other, they can be exposed. If you're not eating rat poo, I don't know, Candlesticks, do you eat rat poo anymore? Did you quit? Like Bannock's, did you quit doing the rat poo? I know sometimes you'll throw some barbecue sauce on it. I got to watch it. The U.S. failure in Iran is too obvious for another mass media epidemic drama to hide it. Don't hide the issue, fix it. And to fix it, just reverse everything back to where it was before, when Humos was open. So yeah, he talks about this. He goes, now, unless they gain a function it. Oh, I don't have it. I didn't click it over here. Here's Rick Sanchez. Unless they gain the function this thing, to make it so that it's transmitted this way is the only way it could do it, because I've heard that too before. It only comes from rat poo, which was the origin of it. If you remember thinking of it, rat poo. There's no human-to-human transmission. It was just if you were contacted by rat poo. Hey, touche. Yeah, Colorado probably doesn't have any rats out there. You have any mice. What is the only rodent? You just have the groundhogs. Groundhogs do have the Black Plague, though. But these popular national parks are teeming with brain-eating amoebas. Recent research finds that Naegleria fowleri can be commonly found in recreational hot water springs. Hey, Bannock's, there you go. There's a lot of hot water springs out in Colorado there. Apparently everybody goes in there now and has the deadly brain eating things. Grief. Would it be something if everyone comes out and everyone you go into the water with now has this amoeba brain eating thing, and you come out going, yeah, I have no problem. You find out that you don't have a brain. Robot wars. Ukraine set to unleash 25,000 robots to the battlefield as frontline cavalry in war with Putin. Well, I'm thinking about it. Let's go right to antiwar.com, see what's going on there. Generals singing in their masses, just like witches at black masses. U.S. bombs Iran's Keishan port in Bandar Abbas. One big load. Trump just threatening to hit Iran with nukes. U.S. official says Iran has 70% of pre-war missile stockpile. Al Jazeera live updates on situation in the Persian Gulf. U.S. paused Project Freedom due to Gulf backlash. U.S. sells more missiles worth $17 billion to Persian Gulf nations. In Gaza, Israel kills son of Hamas lead negotiator after deadly Beirut strike. Israel resumes pounding South Lebanon. Agriculture damage in Syria from Israeli ops. OPCW says it buried evidence in Syria chemical weapons probe. Hegg says $1.5 trillion military budget, fiscally responsible. I don't know if Pete and you and I have the same definition of what fiscally responsible means. Apparently it's 1.5 trillion. U.S. launches 63rd airstrike in 2026 on Somalia because that's how peace. War is peace. U.S. sanctions Cuba as UN warns of energy starvation. Jason Batchelor, we need more data centers to beat China in the AI arms race. Meanwhile, the U.S. has 12 times more data centers than China. At this point, the China threat feels more like a marketing campaign for U.S. mass surveillance. It's 5,427 data centers in these United States. U.S. the largest concentration in the world by a massive margin. Now, again, I mean, if you take that out, we want to see what the states actually have, which state would be, because, I mean, now if you had, just like in the medal rounds, if you had Germany, you kind of United Kingdom, Italy, and all that, would the EU have the same as the US? Like which state has more? So again, it's centralization to make that. China apparently has 449 data centers. Well, here's my man Mike talking about the birthright. Oh, yeah, because we get into this. He goes on a little bit of Gorsuch, so I won't have to play it.
First, play Justice Neil Gorsuch, Maggie, if you would. Everyone is losing their proverbial gourds over this soundbite. I knew it, Gorsuch is gonna side with birthright citizenship. I hear stuff that's wrong in this, but I don't hear that.
How do you get somebody hooked on an idea? And I think facts and figures, all right, they're 13%, 18%, whatever, kind of don't speak to us the way stories do. That's how we relate to one another. I want to know your story. You want to know mine.
That's the
That's how we learn, really. And we figure, well, if you're going to get interested in the Stamp Act, right? And if you're going to get interested in the Articles of Confederation, it might be because of the people behind them. And the 56 signers were incredibly interesting people. And their stories are moving. We forget that the revolution was 8 bloody, long years. A third of the signers had their homes destroyed. Many of them were imprisoned. Some of their wives were imprisoned. Some of their
all to become what they fought against.
Children were imprisoned. And many of them gave their fortunes to the revolution and died poor as a result of it. So telling those stories of courage and sacrifice, we hope might inspire a few young minds and make them realize the Declaration's 3 big ideas are not inevitable. They were not inevitable, and their preservation is not inevitable, and that the torch passes to each generation. We're a creedal nation.
Oh, boy.
What unites us is not a religion. It's not a race. It's a belief in those 3 ideals. That's our mission statement as a country. And if the people don't get inspired to learn about them and believe in them, well, the baton drops.
I mean, that was why Ronald Reagan in his farewell address, that was his argument was we need to teach informed patriotism to the next generation.
It was also George Washington's speech toward the end of his administration, where he was advocating for a national university to teach civics and the virtues. And he wasn't afraid to talk about virtues that are necessary to maintain a republic. And that is something that all of the founders agreed on. I mean, Jefferson said, if you expect a country to remain free and ignorant, well, you want something that's never been and never will be.
Professor Turgison, played by Sam Kinison. Is he right, class? Is he right? He didn't give the 3 ideas. Let me give them to you because I know what he's talking about. You might have known that I wrote a little movie and an audio documentary or docudrama about this called The Road to Independence.
Which is very good.
So I can validate some of what Gorsuch said about a third of the framers having their property taken from them and having it destroyed by the British. But this was a common thing that was happening as the British regulars moved through Massachusetts and New Jersey, lower New York and Pennsylvania, and then into parts of Maryland and Northern Virginia. This was called a pillage. Happens in every war. Supplies are short. People that live there where the war is going on have them. People that have invaded don't. And so one of the things you do is you confiscate property. And it's true. Abraham was one of them. His last name was Abraham, whose property was confiscated. This part of it is true. But the 3 pieces of the declaration he's talking about, you all know them. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Interestingly enough, and again, I said I'd give you a crash course. Interestingly enough, that is not Jefferson's phrase. He did not come up with that. That's George Mason's phrase in the Virginia Declaration of Right. What Jefferson left out is that, and Mason, the wisest man of his generation, of the founding generation, kept in, and it's in the Virginia Declaration of Rights, is there is a difference between a blanket universal right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and one that comes along with the rights, some of these rights and privileges and liberties being reserved for citizens. So Mason.
So he's getting to the I was hoping he was getting if I didn't have it right on the Creedal part, which is, I have this one. Here's Rubio giving the Holy Father a crystal football. He goes, what do you give someone that has everything? I thought a crystal football. Pope, okay. And obviously everyone got upset because just like the Holy Father meeting with somebody from the Obama regime, now he meets with the Rubio regime and everything's okay. Yeah, I forgot to put, I had that other stuff in. I got this out of place. I'm sorry. Americans hailed Leo the 14th as a breath of fresh air 1 year in as Trump clashes linger. 1 year on the job. The first U.S. Pope wins support for his progressive views and his defiance of Trump. Always progressive. If you don't, yeah, whatever. Here is the administration.
Is expecting a $2.1 trillion deficit for the 2026 fiscal year. 2.1 trillion. Edward Lawrence at the White House. Okay, Edward, what does that mean for the national debt?
Yeah, federal debt is going up is exactly what that means. And the government watchdog group warns that this is just unsustainable. If you look at Treasury data out yesterday, as well as the...
So $2.1 trillion deficit for 2026 fiscal year. We're fiscal conservative, remember. Here's the U.S. Supreme Court has agreed to take up a challenge to Colorado's Democrat law that defunds Catholic preschools if they refuse to accept children with same-sex parents. Colorado is forcing schools to go full pro LGBT, even if it's against their religion. Strike it down, SCOTUS. The Supreme Court has been pretty solid on several cases of upholding civil rights, Christian rights, blah, blah, blah. The argument is later. Deliver another win for Christians. Now, I'm going to tell you.
This is a battle that faith-based schools in Colorado, Supreme Court, to change the rules for Colorado's universal preschool program. Those schools in the Denver Archdiocese argue that they should be able to discriminate against same-sex parents and still get public funding. This is a battle that faith-based schools in Colorado have been fighting since the school-funded preschool 2 years ago. To get state funding, schools have to sign a non-discrimination clause. The Catholic schools want the schools to be able to exclude gay parents, to prioritize Catholic families, and to hire Catholic staff. Denver Archdiocese says this is a First Amendment violation if they can't do that. Says that Colorado's, quote, punishing faith-based.
It's not a First Amendment issue. It's probably in the Colorado state constitution, but again, we're all centralists.
Schools for operating according to their religious beliefs. Federal courts in Colorado have already upheld Colorado's non-discrimination requirements. Those court rulings found that Catholic schools are welcome to participate in the state-funded program if they want, as long as they follow the rules. A group of Catholic schools.
So, and I'm going to go ahead, and this is what I say on here. This has nothing to do with SCOTUS. Probably violates the Colorado Constitution. U.S. SCOTUS has zero authority to get involved with Colorado anything. This is a Colorado issue. Colorado, go fix Colorado. It's retarded. Yes, the law, whatever it is, but maybe Colorado wants to be that way. And then I'll go into Colorado Constitution. Here we go. I already did it. Look once. Let me see. Colorado Constitution. Darn it. I did it much before I hit the wrong link. Let's see. Let's try this one. Bill of Rights. Probably on the Bill of Rights. Let's see. Religious freedom. The free exercise and employment of religious professional worship without discrimination shall however be guaranteed. No person shall be denied any civil or political right. Privileged capacity on account of opinions. Blah, blah, blah. So, okay. No personal crime. Okay. So I would say that would probably be a violation of Section 4 of the Bill, or Article 2, Section 4 of the Bill of Rights. It's not a 1A amendment. I know everyone's going, oh, yeah, it's one. Yeah, it's a Colorado law with people in Colorado. How does it become federal? If it crosses state lines, okay? Now, if it's something going in, Nebraska versus Colorado, then you get a federal thing come in, and you're the arbitrator between the two states. Something happens inside the border of Colorado. It's a Colorado thing, especially when they're getting money from Colorado. If you don't like it, don't go to Colorado. Work to change the law. You got a gay guy there's a state as the governor there. You got trannies in the state house. People in Colorado better get off their fannies and get involved. Instead of complaining about it, get involved. But they only focus on the DC. That is the problem. Everyone's focused on DC. They don't care about their backyard. And meanwhile, the backyard goes to where in a handbasket. It's on fire. Oh, it's on fire, but let's fix DC. You can't even fix your backyard, but you want to fix the entire community. Again, it's just the backwards thinking of a lot of people. I can't believe Stephen is okay with. No, I just don't want SCOTUS to get involved. Again, if SCOTUS gets involved in this and then forces the church to do that, it says no, the state can do that to you see how it goes. You play Russian roulette. They could come in and say, no, well, the state of Colorado can do whatever, it can do that. And now you got precedent, even though it's bad precedent. There's the unwritten constitution junk. We have a written constitution, not an unwritten. So you get bad precedent is always the rule. And then they go across this, all the states are doing that now. You see how you do not get into that. But I mean, that's the thing. We're trying hard to get people to stop thinking it's like, hey, it's a First Amendment. No, it's not a First Amendment thing. Congress shall not doesn't mean Colorado shall not. It says Congress shall not. Then we just throw in words out there. Congress shall not means Jane Smith down the road shall not to meet. No, I bet there's people who say I have a freedom of speech to you. That's not, if you come into my place and I tell you to be quiet, that doesn't mean I violated a 1A. You see how dumb that sounds when you go say, imagine going to someone else's house where someone comes into your house and then they start saying whatever you say, and then you tell them be quiet, and then they say, I have a freedom of speech. That's violation of my First Amendment. No, how's that violation of First Amendment? But that's the minds. Everyone thinks that anywhere they go is a violation of First Amendment. No, Congress shall not. Again, goes to every state has something like this. I bet there's a speech law, free speech thing in the Colorado State Constitution. Oh, look, Section 10, freedom of speech. Freedom of speech right there. Every state has a freedom of speech. If there was no common sense, Georgia mayor fires entire police force for upsetting his wife. His wife. A mayor of small Georgia town has axed the entire police force for upsetting his wife, who previously had been accused of a hostile work enforcement. Fired all 10 of his employees earlier this week after allegedly made inappropriate comments to his spouse on Facebook. Tennessee lawmaker calls for Memphis to succeed over redistricting. Yes, I approve that message. Yes, 100%. They should. And by the way, the lawmaker did it again in 2018, so this is not the first time. I have a video of it. Well, I guess we can read it. I guess. Let Memphis secede from the state of Tennessee, said Representative Antonio Parkinson, according to a report from the Tennessean. Let my people go. I'm a dead serious. If you're consistently beating on us, let us out. Amen. That should be our cry everywhere. Let my people go. All right. So, in a huge blow to the Democrats, Virginia court strikes down House map. Oh, yeah. The Virginia Supreme Court. How many? By a raise of hand, how many people knew there was a Virginia State Supreme Court? Bro, there's a diary. Oh, that would be funny, yeah. Virginia's top court on Friday struck down a congressional map drawn by Democrats and recently approved by voters, dealing a major blow to the party as it struggles to keep pace with Republicans in the nation's redistricting battle. The ruling will wipe out all that stuff that happened the other day. And really, the problem with Virginia is this section up here. I mean, most of this up here where D.C. is 10, 11, 7, those are the original districts. You get rid of those, which are influenced by D.C., you see what the rest of Virginia looks like. Let's see. And again, you look at in its 4-3 opinion, Virginia Supreme Court wrote that Democrat legislators had violated the state constitution. There's the state constitution. With their move to enact a new map meant to give their party 10 out of 11 states 11 House seats, up from 6. The problem the court's majority suggested is that the first vote on the amendment of the General Assembly, which would authorize Democrats to occur days before last was elected. Yeah. It's a weird reason why they did it, but I would say, like and other guys like McClanahan was saying before, that if you look at the guys from Virginia and John C. Calhoun is from South Carolina, and other guys would say this too back then, they wanted a super majority for anything like this in the Constitution, not 50+1, but like 75%. You get a gigantic one, then you're okay. Not 50+1. There's Gorsuch. We already heard this idea. Gorsuch, America is a creedal nation. We're united in the belief of the ideals of the Declaration. Oh yeah, how about the ideals of the Declaration of the? If it's time of government is gone, it's the duty of a people to abolish the darn thing. You okay with that ideal? I am. That's the mission statement. As a country, as the people don't learn to believe in them, then the baton drops. As Brian says, anyone shocked that he said this hasn't been paying attention. Again, propositionation. What is the propositionation? Pretty much the GOP has been trying for years to say, hey, we are the party of freedom. We don't hate black people. We're the non-racist people. And I'm trying not trying to play the Democrat and Republican thing that's going on, because the Republicans back then, remember the 13th Amendment, the Corwin Amendment, they wanted to keep slavery perpetual. They wanted to get rid of the blacks off the coast or off the land and to colonize other places. The GOP, you read about the GOP back then, they were just as bad as everyone else. They didn't even Illinois had a law outlawing black people from inside their borders. So the North wasn't all about this. They did not want, they didn't, after they found morality from the slave trade, because they built the North from the slave trade. They had no, they didn't care. The abolitionists were like, okay, we don't like slavery, but we don't want them living with us. Hence why you go up north now, everything's all segregated. In the South, everybody lives together, but not up there. So here's Abbeville Institute comes out with this. With Justice Gorsuch comments on the Creedal nation, it is a good time to revisit the 1607 project. We take a sledgehammer to the Proposition Nation nonsense.
America. Ours was the first nation in the history of the world to be founded explicitly on such an idea.
This idea that is the United States.
We rededicate ourselves to the very idea of America.
4 years after the invasion of Iraq, 3,192 U.S. troops have been killed.
Our vision of spreading freedom throughout the greater Middle East.
We were founded upon the ideal that all are created equal.
America is an idea.
Folks, America's an idea.
Many large entities in the U.S. have taken a stand against transgender inequality.
University of Pennsylvania swimmer Leah Thomas taking first place.
America wasn't founded on a government or a political system.
An idea.
America is the only nation founded on an idea.
Officials are overwhelmed as thousands of migrants are crossing into the U.S. from Texas to California.
To May Day march by immigrants demanding a piece of the American dream.
America is the only country that was founded on the idea of individual rights and liberty. That was founded on the idea of God-given, inalienable rights. None of those other European, these were monarchies. They weren't founded on the idea that every person had equal rights, but we were.
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Which country do we want to be? Do we want to be the country that begins in 1619 with the practice of slavery? Or do we want to be the country that was conceived in 1776 with the ideas of liberty and equality?
If you haven't watched this, you should. And that's on YouTube.
America wasn't founded as an ideal. America wasn't founded by slavery or as a city upon a hill. America, the real tangible America, was founded in Virginia.
Is a fantastic piece that the Abbeville Institute did. It's one of their best. Obviously, they got tens of thousands of views on it. Check it out and look at it. It's in the show notes, or go to abbevilleinstitute.com and check it out. Again, it's a little bit over an hour. You will learn a lot of stuff about it. This is why, and they did this Virginia First thing, the 1607 project, to combat the 1619 project. Here's Jason Bassler. California's forests are being drenched in glyphosate. A recent investigation found the U.S. Forest Service has applied over 266,000 pounds of glyphosate across California forests in 2023, nearly 5 times more than 2 decades ago. With new spraying plans expanding into ski resorts, campgrounds, trails, and the Tahoe Basin. How did forest management become landscape engineering and ecosystem control by big ag profits? You can get your cancer by going anymore. iCatholic Mobile. Forgot about my man Dave at iCatholic Mobile. If you want to, you don't want to pay money to Sprint, T-Mobile that will give money to get abortions. Go to iCatholicMobile.com. Click on them to switch over. Same plans. And with Dave, he'll give priest and religious free service for your help. He's helping out. So, yeah, if you want to stop paying to the enemy, go to iCatholicMobile.com and get the switch over. I did. Bright lights. There we go into UFOs. Bright lights. Speaking of bees, yes. Bright lights and hot orbs. UFO files shed light on sightings, but leave interpretation to the public. What does she have to say?
Administrations have tried to dissuade the American people. President Donald Trump, quote, is focused on providing maximum transparency to the public, who can ultimately make up their own minds about the information contained in these files. A newly unveiled website with the documents has a retro feel, with black and white military imagery of flying objects and statements displayed in typewriter-like font. One file shows a NASA photograph from the Apollo 17 mission in 1972, showing 3 dots in a triangular formation. The caption reads, "There is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly, but that a new preliminary analysis indicated that it could be a physical object." The first release includes 162 files. The Pentagon says additional documents will be released on a rolling basis. But experts have urged caution around the release of the new files, warning that UAP videos are often misinterpreted and mischaracterized by those unfamiliar with advanced military technology. Do you
believe? Oh, no, I'm sorry, but I have all this mixed up. Here's the well, you already saw. Here's Representative Parkinson calls for Memphis to secede. Yeah, here I put in Bill Kaufman's "Bye Bye, Miss American Empire." Yeah, because of this, people are trying to compare it to the Confederacy. Where's my thing at? Confederate states are rushing, says Gruesome Newsom, through rigged maps to erase black districts off the map. If this doesn't make you angry, it should. As Jefferson Davis handle says, what do I keep telling you guys? Remember when the media kept screaming that Virginia was taking away Confederate tax breaks? And I pointed out these organizations were American heritage groups founded by Americans. This is the exact same sleazy game. There are obviously no Confederate states in 2026. Why would Gruesome Newsom use the term Confederate when all these states took back their secession ordinances long ago? I mean, North Carolina literally has an amendment now saying they cannot secede from the Union. So what does that mean? Beforehand it could, now they say it can't. Because they're making history a political issue to sway the ignorant. This is the type of bad character that destroys a united people, creating divisions to win short-term political battles without considering long-time consequences and repercussions. Let's see. We're taking over your shit. White Knight, I'll post it again. Aliens land on Earth. We promised 30,000 years ago. China, can we eat them? I don't know why I can't, but that link will not come through. Here's Mother Jones. The mood on the ground in Tennessee today. And here's some guy thinking he was big and bad by coming in and burning a 6x8 of the Virginia flag. By the way, if you ever wonder who was the first Confederate flag, was the state South Carolina flag was it. What is the state of South Carolina flag? Yeah, there you go. Jefferson Davis, the burning of the Confederate battle flag inside the state capitol is not some authentic reflection of the mood on the ground among everyday citizens. It is simply ignorance on display. The flag had long stood as a symbol of the valor and courage of soldiers who fought to defend their homes, family, and the way of life during the War for Southern Independence. It has nothing whatsoever to do with the 2026 congressional redistricting debate or any modern political maneuvering in Tennessee, and dragging it into the conversation only reveals the shallow grasp at history. Antagonizing people who have no connection to these legislative decisions is precisely how divisions are manufactured and deepened. Such provocative stunts achieve nothing constructive. They alienate fellow Americans who simply want to live their lives without being lectured or insulted over symbols they hold dear. Ignorance is not a fleeting mood, it's a choice, and one that does far more harm than any flag could. I remember driving Uber in Colorado once, and the people asked me where I was from because I was polite to them. And I said, I'm from the South. They asked me if I was military. I go, no, I'm from the South. And the lady goes, without skipping a beat, I bet you own slaves. I was like, what? That's it. I wore a Captain Confederate shirt one time. Remember Captain America? So there was a guy that made a shirt with Captain Confederate. It was cool looking. I wore it to the gym in Colorado, and a guy comes up to me and he's he looked like he wanted to have some words. I said, yeah, so I get that. I said, hey, yes, sir. Hey, how you doing? Is that a Confederate flag? Yes, sir. Yeah, what's the problem? Can't believe you wear something like that. I go, what's the problem? Why do you think? He was from UC Berkeley. He got some education that day because he tried to drop some knowledge, quote unquote, and I dropped it right back. I asked him, hey, you ever heard of William Ellison? No, I never heard of him. Look him up. He was only the richest man in the South. Oh yeah. He was a freed slave. His kids were in the artillery. He created the currency for Dixie. which ended up going nothing after the war. I never heard of it. Look them up. I bet there's 1,000 things you have no clue about, like how majority of people didn't own slaves. No, everyone did. No, not everyone did. But people are really getting taught that. Jim Crow was trending, so I had to click on it. He goes, here's Matt, I've sold my soul to Trump Van Swall. I really don't think you know what Jim Crow means. Jim Crow meant the state telling black citizens they couldn't vote. Supreme Court ruled that you can't draw districts based on race. Treating people equally under the law is not Jim Crow. The new Jim Crow will be defeated like the old Jim Crow. We were tired then and then not defeated. Weeping may endure. No Jim Crow 2.0. It rhymes, you see. Democracy in America. How is electing a black Republican woman Jim Crow? If Tennessee redistricting is racist, why isn't it about to elect the black Republican woman to Congress?
We're going to take a quick break, and then Tesla and
the woman now who is likely going to win the 9th district in Tennessee is a black Republican woman as a result of this redistricting effort. It's likely going to be a black Republican woman who beats that old white man.
Could I make this very simple point?
But that's racist?
We're going to come back.
It actually is.
We're going to take a quick break, and then
we better go to. We can't have that one. We got to go to break on this. And here is the northern origins of Jim Crow. Let's play a little bit of it.
Had this treasury of counterfeit virtue for a long period of time. That somehow everything that should be blamed that's bad on America comes out of the South, and everything that's good came out of the North. Well, there was a book that came out in 2019, 4 years ago now, but it hasn't really. I mean, look, a lot of liberal academics and liberals have read this. When I say liberals, I'm talking about people in the North or progressives, whoever you want to call them. Yankees have read this, and they've started becoming more interested in this. And the author of the book is Steve Luxenberg. He is an editor at the Washington Post. And the title of the book is Separate, The Story of Plessy v. Ferguson and America's Journey from Slavery to Segregation. Now, the fascinating thing about this is that Luxemburg has basically admitted that the entire system of Jim Crow originated in the North. That they were the ones that came up with the idea. They were the ones who came up even with the term Jim Crow. Southerners didn't invent that in 1890 or 1888 or 1880 or 1870. What's fascinating to me, too, is that for years I used to use a textbook. Goldfield was the editor of the book. It was a college-level textbook. And Goldfield had written a pretty interesting book on the war, the pre-war period, America Aflame. And he talks about essentially that the North should be to blame as much as the South for the war itself. But in this textbook, Goldfield and the other writers had essentially concluded that after the war, the South was not segregated by race, but more by class, and that you didn't start seeing racial segregation in the South until the late 19th century. But that's not the case in the North. In fact, you started seeing segregation in the North as early as 1838, maybe even earlier. And the reason I say maybe even earlier is because even though evidence exists that 1838 is the time that we have documented evidence of segregation in the North, it seemed to be pretty well established in 1838. And we even have evidence from Garrison's Liberator that they were publishing stories about segregation in the North that were not coming out of the South. These were stories of rail car segregation, which was the big issue, rail car segregation. And he actually made the point that you wouldn't have seen this in the South. You had smoking cars and non-smoking cars. And of course, Southerners would often travel as they went to the North with their slaves, and those slaves would be seated in the cars with them. So they were integrated cars. And when they got to the North, Northerners would force these white Southerners to go sit in the Jim Crow cars with their slaves. So I find this fascinating that here you have the North, which is supposed to be this, bastion of all good things, enforcing racial segregation. Because, as we know, and I've done a show on this not long ago, Slave North, we know that the North was not this bastion of all good things in America, and that they had their own skeletons in their closet, so to speak, and that Northerners in the 19th century were just as racist, if we're going to use that term, if not more racist than Southerners, because they lived in a completely segregated society. You know, after the war was over in 1866, Connecticut, which is New England, Connecticut, rejected voting rights for Black Americans. Now, they couldn't after the 15th Amendment in 1870, but in 1866, they did. So did Minnesota. I mean, there were northern states that did this because they did not want Black Americans living in their states and being able to have any power in their states. And you're talking about states with a population so minuscule that allowing Blacks to vote in those states would have been, I mean, just an afterthought. You're not looking at a state like South Carolina or Mississippi where Black Americans were the majority in those states. And so this was a much bigger question in those states for a variety of reasons. But in Connecticut, it would have been insignificant. You wouldn't have had, if people voted simply by race, you wouldn't have had any kind of power. Black Americans would have no power in Connecticut to change anything in Connecticut, really, or Minnesota, or any other Western state, Midwestern state, where they're not the right to vote. So I find it fascinating again. And this is something that people don't want to talk about. Now,
so you want to watch the rest of it again, it's in the show notes, but again, look at it. It wasn't the Confederate states, one of the southern states. It was the northern states that are doing stuff like that. All right, back to the UFOs. Mysterious UFO spotted in NASA image taken from the moon's surface. We already had a video of that a minute ago. Here's a mysterious football-shaped UFO pictured in first drop of classified docs. The Trump administration released several files containing pilots' encounters with UAPs. UAP is an updated official term for UFOs. Look at that high definition. They've got cameras and satellites hundreds of thousands of miles off the Earth's atmosphere, and they can read a penny, but that's the best you got right there. Here's the last card they will play will be the alien card, and it's all a lie. Werner von Braun. Breaking news. Trump releases bombshell first batch of UFO files with new videos and evidence of extraterrestrial life. Here's a RT. The new pentagram star-like UFO footage dropped. Object, just camera diffraction spikes from drone lens. Video has been public for at least...
When I first saw it, I recognized it looked rather like a diffraction artifact. Bright lights or heat sources often have a star-shaped diffraction pattern around them. This can vary a lot by camera, lighting conditions, and the settings, but generally depends on the shape of the aperture and the configuration of support vanes in a compound mirror telescope. On Metabunk, Flarkey recognized the camera as a Raytheon MTS-B, and we see that does indeed have the support vanes in the main camera. There's not a lot of sample footage, but we do see diffraction spikes. But what are these weird club or arrow-shaped spikes? They do look odd. Within a video about the MQ-9 Reaper with a similar camera, I noticed a diffraction pattern that also had clubbed spikes. We also see from the lens flare that it has a square or diamond-shaped aperture, which is probably related. Then, John Phil published an analysis on Metabunk. Using the Maskulator software, he used images of the camera to create an input mask, which is then used to calculate the expected diffraction pattern. John also noticed a crucial point. The vanes on the MTS-B are apodizing, meaning they are a bit wavy. Putting that info into the Maskulator gives a diffraction pattern that has the odd club or arrow shapes. It was lacking the horizontal and vertical spikes, but those are a consequence of a square aperture. If we calculate that diffraction pattern and then add them together, we get something that looks very much like the chandelier. These results were also roughly replicated by Adams AT using a different...
And so as they get Daniel on, I did a show with Daniel long ago. I might try to reach out to him again, but yeah, I did a thing with Daniel probably a year ago now. He's a cool dude, good dude. Congresswoman Luna posts O'Fannin right after the Pentagon declassifies eerie 8-pointed star UFO. O'Fannin described as multi-eyed angels in Dead Sea Scrolls. Okie dokie. This is oh shoot, I hit the wrong button. Here's the art of purpose. The pentagram releasing blurry CGI UFO art, and millions of people believe it is the most 2026 thing imaginable. Humanity is cooked. That was literally from the U.S. Department of War. You see that and go, who believes that one? That something like that. How do you post that? Who thought that was a good idea? Like, we're going to post that one. Disclosed TV just in. The Department of War releases first tranche of UFO files as part of Trump's executive order on UFO disclosure at UFO. Here's the website. war.gov UFO. This is literally from the website. We are not a serious people. Brando's got what plants crave. UFO footage shows streaks of light abruptly changing directions as if on command before a pair of eye-shaped lights begin fluttering around, submitted by the Department of the Army. I looked at this and go, hey, this is Pong. Anybody remember Pong from Atari? Pong had better graphics than that.
Drive on my house official left this hard drive on my desk overnight. You can see on it, it says AARO files copy 2 of 3. That is the all domain resolution office copy 2 of 3. This is the first big batch of UFO disclosure ordered by President Trump. Some of the clips and videos on there have popped up different places before. Some of them have not. And we have been going through this all morning and overnight to try to put together some of the best videos so we can all look at this together. This is a world exclusive right here. So let's go to the first clip. Over the skies of the United Arab Emirates in June 2024, an inverted teardrop with a vertically linear trailing mass, as described by the War Department, suspended below. The War Department cannot say for sure what this is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. The next video, over the skies of a...
I'm putting the show I did with Daniel in the chat, so you probably here if you see the YouTube link, that's me and Daniel and I.
December 2022, moving bottom left to top right of the field of view. All CENTCOM gets from this is an area of contrast. That's what they describe it as. It is officially still listed as an unresolved UAP report. Next video, over the skies of Greece, October 2023, what is described as a small and circular UAP flying near the surface of the ocean towards land. CENTCOM can't tell us what it is. It is officially listed as an unresolved UAP report. Within the last 2 minutes, all of these videos have gone live on war.gov/UFO, and a White House official tells Fox First, while past administrations sought to discredit or dissuade the American people, President Trump is focused on providing maximum transparency to the public, who can ultimately make up their own minds about the information contained in these files. And there's also a fresh look at some historical records. There's this from a...
All right, so someone asked, they didn't know what Pong was. Here's a little video of Pong. All right, it's not perfect. It's not perfect, but I mean, just yeah, it's a little video game. Art of purpose again. So after 60 years of technological advancement, UFO footage somehow got worse. UFO sighting in 1966. UFO sighting in 2026. Apparently the video cameras got drunk. Up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a humongous distraction. Get out the 2600 with the battle controls. Now you're talking, Coffee Man. Let's see. Here's Jesse Waters. UFO finals just dropped. It gets weird fast. The Pentagram videos show objects making multiple 90-degree turns, not man-made. Reports of 3-foot and 4-foot beings, shiny suits, and bodies were recovered. New Congress says real holy crap hasn't dropped. What are they hiding? I don't know. Yeah, that's going to be great, but I still need those Epstein files. Rosie's Ballroom. The shills have their marching orders. Push the UFO psyop. Here's Gunther. Breaking. Trump UFO drop goes deeper. New bombshell from the first batch of files. Apollo 17 footage that was buried for decades. Astronauts caught bright particles and jagged angular fragments tumbling past the spacecraft. Quote, those are big ones in my window. Looks like the 4th of July out the Ron's window. You see them? Jagged, whatever.
Another astronaut says, yes, now you can see some of them in shape. They're very jagged, angular fragments that are tumbling.
Sorry,
this
Candlesticks.
exchange has long been dismissed as floating insulation. But now the White House is saying, while this photo has been previously released and discussed by keen observers, there is no consensus about the nature of the anomaly.
Yeah. How about those Epstein files? Maybe the Epstein files are on the aliens plan. JP Sears, the UFO disclosures certainly aren't just a work attempting to sell the public the idea that this administration is highly transparent, because it would have to after violating the literal Epstein Transparency Act with midterms coming up. Nobody even remembers that because aliens.
Moon landing footage. And when you compare scenes from the Apollo moon landing footage with scenes from Stanley Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey, there is strong evidence that the exact same technology was used. In the late 60s, a state-of-the-art front projection system developed by Scotchlight allowed Kubrick to simulate expansive backgrounds by projecting them onto a large screen made with small glass beads. The giveaway for this cinematic trickery is that the foreground must always hide the bottom of the Scotchlight projection screen in the background. In order to do this, the bottom of each set needs to have a complete horizon line between the set in the foreground and the screen in the background. And we can see this signature in all the Apollo images. We can also see light refraction off the glass beads in the Scotchlight screen. And when you compare scenes from the Apollo moon landing,
here's Joe Rogan. UFO file dump could be a distraction from Iran war that's not going very well. Oh, gee, you don't think? In other news, water is wet.
It sounds like an overstatement. But when you look at the arc of history and at the decline of civilizations, and particularly when we're speaking of Western culture, of which America has been a major exemplar, we have militarized our society, and in pursuit of militarization since World War II, America has been involved in overturning countless governments, most notably Iran, Libya, Iraq, of course, or not. They overturned Iran when they knocked out Mossadegh in '53, and the Iraq War, which I led the effort against, the overturning of Gaddafi's government, which I also led the effort against, and now this adventure in Iran, which could bring the whole system crashing down.
I'll keep going just because we're over 2 hours and it's already tomorrow morning. But yeah, again, if you want to watch more of that, it's in the show notes. And sorry, I put that in between all the UFO stuff. JP Sears again, insane. This released photo shows aliens were watching the astronauts during the fake moon landing. How did they get inside the film studio? We need more answers. Such exciting stuff coming out. Let's see, here's Max Blumenthal. It's been over a month and the Pentagon has still not released any photos, names, or identifying info about the 2 U.S. pilots supposedly rescued near Isfahan. No wonder so many believe the rescue operation was cover for a failed U.S. attempt to steal Iran's uranium stockpile. Remember that? We were talking about this for a couple of days. They say, hey, we got this rescue mission. Can we have some photos of anybody? Nothing. We have no clue who these people are. Here's Gons. They're going for the hat trick. alien invasion, virus pandemic, AI cyber attack, happening now. We're throwing it all in because why? Australia urges financial sector to take urgent action to prepare for cyber threats posed by Claude Mythos. So we got everything going on right now. Alien invasion, virus, and AI cyber attacks. Buckle up. This is great.
Time we're going to send humans. Of course we didn't go to the moon. Listen to what he says right in your face. This is the first time we're going to send humans to the moon, and we're going to have humans in low Earth orbit. That is awesome. Like, we should, as humanity, we should take a brief moment to go, that's awesome. One of the things that we most asked for and look forward to is we are going to do a crew conference between Integrity and the International Space Station, the crew that's up there.
You're going to tell me a guy from NASA said, this is our first time going to the moon, and nobody corrected it? So then it brings you back to, of course we didn't go to the moon. I know some of you want to hold on to and believe everything you've seen on television, blah, blah, blah. It didn't happen. How do you explain what this banana just said?
It's our first time to the moon. It's pretty awesome. Our first time man is.
He said it right in your face.
I heard that too. I'm going, yeah, right. He said that right in front of nobody said a thing. There's Ben Swan, the 13 missing scientists, all that ties to NASA, Los Alamos, and major defense and space research programs. First time going to the moon. Many worked on highly classified projects and held contracts connected to the DoD. Could some of these deaths and disappearances be linked to secret UFO or UAP programs? Why is there such an intense secrecy surrounding these operations? And what kind of reverse engineering work may be happening inside these classified facilities?
These scientists was involved in, be it JPL or NASA or MIT, are all technologies that are rumored to have originated from reverse engineering programs or the acquisition of technology from non-human intelligence. Now, that is what the UFO community and the civilian researchers have uncovered and believe is the connection. And we're just waiting for the rest of the official bodies to catch up.
Sean, what about that? This idea of reverse engineering. We know that there is a lot of talk in Washington right now about the possibility of UFO files that are supposed to be declassified, many of which have not been declassified. There are conversations about alien breeding programs going on. Sitting members of Congress who are talking about briefings that they have had where they're hearing these absolutely wild things. I think Tim Burchett said that the world would burn down if the public were told the things that he's hearing. Do you think that these deaths are related to UFO programs?
I hate to say, I can tell a personal anecdote. When I did the show Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura back in 2011, we talked to Dr. Fred Bell, who has written many books people can read on various theories about the UFOs and technologies related to UFOs. And Dr. Bell told us off the record that he had met various otherworld species. I think he described one as gray alien in one of the underground military bases because Dr. Bell had worked with the U.S. military for pretty much all of his life.
FBI UFO files bombshell claim of 4-foot aliens in spacesuits and helmets. The witness account describes 3.5 to 4 feet tall aliens wearing spacesuits and helmets. Those are the ones. I got nothing on this. Whatever happened to Jesse, he's still out there. He's still out there. He did the demons are in hell, not flying around in bases. Yeah. Again, Clown Planet. And if you need some wine, need something to snack on during Clown Planet, fatthins.com. SF15, get you 15% off. Get some potato chips so you can watch the clown show that goes on. Please. At least when you're watching it, yeah. You feel good about yourself. And to wash it down, get you some old Northwood wine. They got the Mother's Reserve. What else they got here? Shop Our Wines. These are probably the best wines out there too. Cancian Red. These are that help out St. John Cancian. Mother's Reserve helps out the Benedictines Mary. Vitas Vera, and they'll have eventually. I text them up. I keep forgetting about that. When Father R's bottle's coming out, Did I even share that? Oh yeah, I forgot about it. Here's Old Northwoods wine right here. Get it. Trust me. If you like wine, you're going to love that wine. Trust me, bro. J.D. Vance holds chilling closed-door summit with America's most powerful men as horrifying global threat menacing hospital spirals.
You've seen, again, a president who...
Your message to the everyday driver, those who are considering a summer vacation right now, but are kind of on the fence.
Listen, I think you've seen, again, a president who is willing to address a nuclear Iran. And I think here's the problem with the premise. And some Democrats will do this as well. They're complaining about high gas prices. I don't like high gas prices. It's not a great thing. They're going to come down, though. All the while, though, you know the Democrats actually want higher gas prices. Like, they want you to drive an EV. Like, look at California. That's $5, $6, $8 a gallon in California. They want higher gas prices. And so to try to talk about gas prices like they want them lower, we all know that's a lie. We know that's not true.
So distraction to blame on California, which, yeah, California's doing it. So what's your problem?
Higher gas prices. There's one president and one administration that's fighting to bring gas prices down by American energy dominance, and that's President Trump. We have had another priority to make sure that America is safe and the world is safe from a nuclear Iran, and he's taken that as a priority. So yes, we've seen this moment in time where fuel prices are up, but when you see the production that's happened in America and what that means for pricing in America, you're going to see them go back down to historic lows, I think, once we get through the issues in the Strait of Hormuz.
Good night. A reporter asked about gas prices and driving. Duffy answered with geopolitical stability. That's not a gaffe. That's someone who actually understands how connected those things are. Cheap summer travel doesn't happen when Iran controls the Strait of Hormuz. Does it have does he just have a standard reply to every question, or is that just a touch? Hey, kids, how does Disneyland sound this summer? Me, kids, how does Disneyland sound this summer? 5-year-old, not as good as never having a never-ending war with Middle East, Daddy. Oh, I already did this one. I had that twice. I had that up there too. Let's go here.
Fire with Iran still on.
Yeah, it is. They trifled with us today. We blew them away. They trifled. I call that a trifle. I'll let you know when there's no ceasefire. You won't have to know. If there's no ceasefire, you're not going to have to know. You're just going to have to look at one big glow coming out of Iran. And they better sign their agreement fast.
Yes. Could you give us an update on what is the latest?
Does that mean we're about to nuke them?
The talks are going very well, but they have to understand if it doesn't get signed, they're going to have a lot of pain. They're going to have a lot of pain.
Are the deal, Chapter 12, threatening to nuke them. U.S. strikes Iranian tankers attempt to break blockade. Oh, wait, what is this Little League Grand Slam thing I keep seeing? No, there was a Little League Grand Slam alert. Okay. China sees a giant with a limp as U.S. drains weapons in Iran war. North Korea, new nuclear capable warship poses threat to South Korea, U.S. But they're okay. They're not Iran, so they're okay. Protein powder shortage threatens America's biggest food craze. Companies are now grappling with whether to raise prices at a time when consumers are already reeling for a prolonged period of inflation. Consumers can't get enough protein, but looming short. You know, there's plant protein that's pretty good and better than meat. And I'm not doing eat the Zabugs things or doing the fake. There's a lot of natural stuff to do it. You don't have to, go this route. You have these bars and all that. Willy Wonka style chewing gum restores taste and smell. Super flavored sweet could bring back senses lost to COVID, inventors claim. A World Cup first round game that costs more than a ticket to the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl. Colombia, Portugal is the only group stage match, but the combination of art and fan support of these teams and the game's location have driven resale prices past the Super Bowl. See, and in other sports, the NCAA has officially expanded to 76 teams starting in 2027. So eventually they'll have the NCAA tournament. It'll be every team that is in the NCAA playing in the tournament. That will last a few weeks. Any way to make more money. Money. Don't take this. That wasn't it. Oh, yeah. Okay. That was the last one. I just had other links. Let's see this day in history. 1980, the end of smallpox. 2025, Leo 14th. 2012, Maurice Sendak, who's best known for Where the Wild Things Are, died at age 83. 1999, Nancy Mace became the first woman to graduate the Citadel because she fought everyone and their brother to go to the Citadel. 1970, a month after Paul McCartney announced that he left the Beatles, their last original albums hit the record shops. 1950, police in Denmark was alerted to the discovery of a corpse in a bog. Bog? It was revealed to be a remarkable preserved bog body. Was given the name Tulenband. 1945, following Nazi Germany's unconditional surrender, World War II in Europe officially ended at midnight. The day was celebrated as victory in Europe, VE Day. 1942, in the Battle of the Coral Sea, the USS Lexington became the first U.S. aircraft carrier to be sunk during World War II. 1902, Mount Pelée on Martinique erupted, destroying the port of Saint Pierre and killing approximately 30,000 people, 15% of the island's population. And if you want a sermon on that, let me see the sermon. Let's see, justice. See the justice. I know it's on here. There's it at. March devotion. Time for there it is. Where's yours? If you want a sermon on that, here is Father giving a sermon on this exact where's it at? It's time for justice. When God's mercy ends justice and modern rebellion. The warning of St. Pierre. Father gets into what St. Pierre was doing. Blasphemous mockery of God. Desecration on Mount Pelée, the destruction, what
Living near
the aftermaths after it. It was a horrific explosion. Let's see, back to this. American pharmacist John. Did I put it in the chat? Yeah, I put it in the chat. So if you see the YouTube link, that's that sermon. John Pepperbaum developed Coca-Cola, a drink he originally built as a cure-all tonic. He based it on cocaine from the coca leaf and caffeine-rich extracts of the cola nut. 1884, Harry S. Truman was born in Lamar, Missouri. 1877, the first Westminster Kennel Dog Club show happened. 1864, during the War for Southern Independence, the Union force of Lieutenant General U.S. Grant engaged Confederate troops of Robert E. Lee at Spotsylvania Courthouse in Virginia. 1846, U.S. troops under Zachary Taylor defeated the Mexican force under General Mariano Arista in the Battle of Palo Alto, the first clash of the Mexican-American War. 1737, Edward Gibbon, who was best known for sweeping the history of decline of the fall of the Roman Empire, was born in Surrey. 1429, largely due to the efforts of Joan of Arc, English troops ended their siege of the French city Orleans, where the military turning point of the 100 Years' War between France and England. Also today, yesterday, for May the 8th, is the feast of the apparition of St. Michael at Mount Gargano. So it is a feast day that got kicked off the calendar. It's in the pre-55. There's a couple sermons on, not too many because it's not in the calendar. But anyways, God love you. Have a great rest of the day. Rest of the day. Where's the thank you button? Where's any of these buttons at? Where we at here? Click, like, subscribe, all that jazz. Under show notes underneath. Click, like, subscribe, comment. Have a great rest of the weekend. God love you. Appreciate you hanging out for a long night. And we'll clear it out with some little Dixie. Thank you very much. God bless. And happy Mother's Day.